It took seeing one poster for me to realise I'm not an artist. Seeing this poster took me back to a time in my life when I'd been trying, when I'd wanted to succeed and become an artist, not just a teacher. At some point, through a series of somewhat unfortunate events, I'd stepped off that path, but then I'd forgotten to try and return, until now. Monet and his work marks a period when I was learning, I was progressing and determined to make my way in the world of art. Coming back to it now isn't exactly a comfortable place to be because so much has happened since. I've not come to see Monet's work because I want to replicate it or just simply admire it. I've come to see it because I need to sit and to listen to what he had to say and see if I have a response to that myself. Trying to reawaken an art practice is never an easy thing. But at this moment, I very much feel that Monet is the key that I need to unlock the barriers I've placed in my own way over the last few years.
Getting back from the Monet exhibition, I realised that my space was starting to hold me back a little bit in terms of I want an area that I can start to work on a series. Monet's work is absolutely monumental, and the amount of studies of this water lily pond that he did is just incredible. He worked on these studies for decades. And, if you're working on a series of work, you need to be able to have studies and references up so that you can see them, so you can think about them even if you're not painting or drawing and actually working at that moment in time. So I've put French cleats onto my wall and it's absolutely fantastic. You'll see a lot of artists have French cleats, and I toyed with the idea, but it has involved kind of remodeling and changing the layout of my studio, but it was well worth it. And actually I've used skirting boards, not French cleats. It cost me £20 to do the whole thing, which is, I think, absolutely fantastic. So I'm really happy with it. And now I just need to start doing some work, to be perfectly honest. So all of these pieces that I'm creating, I'm using pastelmat, but just scrap pieces. This one actually has an outline from a really old workshop I did in person years ago. And I'm using pastel chalks as well. I'm moving away from the pencils for my practice so that I can start to learn to paint and just let go a little bit more. I am a realist artist in terms of my pet portraits and my teaching because it's what I know and it's where I started. And it's something that I really enjoy passing on to other people. But when it comes to my own work, I want to push myself a little bit more. My comfort area is realism. So if I start to move into an area that is a little bit more abstract, there's some more movement and painterly mark making going on, for me that's really difficult, but it's also really exciting. So the subject matter of water suited me really well. I grew up by the sea, so it's very familiar to me, but also I don't have to spend hours labouring over a photo to get a likeness or get proportions. Instead, I'm spending time looking at the relationship of colours, the relationship of textures and values. And I'm using this as inspiration instead of chaining me to the reference photo to try and reproduce something exactly. And I'm finding that the process is so interesting to me. I'm not worrying about whether something turns out good or bad. And there have been quite a few that haven't turned out that great, but they're all up on the wall for me to look at, for me to muse over, and ultimately to start to develop a collection, a body of work that represents me and represents a style that I want to develop further. I'm so excited for my next chapter in my art practice.